That's Enough Out of You, a weekly podcast where you'll hear the truth, or at least a closer version of the truth than most of the bullshit that's out there. Here are your hosts, Bill Rader and Sean Kane.
Hello and welcome to That's Enough Out of You. I'm your host, Bill Rader.
And I'm Sean Kane.
And this is a podcast, a weekly podcast where we talk about all kinds of different things. We talk about sports and entertainment and history and media and
historical figures.
Historical figures. We just did a whole month on a historical figure.
Yes.
So, and we've got sports history coming up on this show. We're going to do a little bit of little rivalry night tonight,
and it might get a little heated because me and Billy are we're on the opposite sides tonight.
We've always been on the opposite side. Yet somehow,
on this one, yes. On this one, yes.
Yeah. On this one we are. But somehow the friendship has endured all these years, even though
yes, it has.
We've been at it for quite a while.
Probably pushing 30, right, buddy? 30 years, maybe.
I think a little over, closer to 25, maybe. I guess. I don't know. Yeah, we're getting close. I guess. That's crazy how fast.
Yeah, really.
So how's it going? How's everything going with you, Sean?
Good, buddy. Good.
Yeah.
Things are going good. The feedback and the podcast have been tremendous. Get a lot of good suggestions on what people want to hear, and so much of the feedback has just been positive, but
yeah, it's been great.
I did get a little bit of negative, Bill. So I gotta bring up, yeah.
Oh, no. All right.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I made that little comment about the Jets, when you said you were going to the Jets Steeler game, and I said, I would have watched the Jets if they were playing in my backyard. So I did get a message from an irate Jets fan, and he ripped me pretty good. He tore me to pieces and called me every name in the book. And I didn't read most of it. I read the first couple lines, and then I got to the end, and he said, I should stick to history because I don't know anything about sports. And he says, how dare you make fun of one of the best franchises in the NFL? So I responded to him. I said, well, I didn't do that. I made fun of the Jets. But it's all good, Billy.
It's only good.
Appreciate the feedback, good or bad.
Absolutely. He's probably frustrated. He's probably just frustrated.
He's been frustrated since Joe Namath. I mean, let's face it, Billy.
That's right. I can relate. We've
all been there, and we'll talk about a little bit of that tonight when we get into our topic. Because God knows I was frustrated for a long time, and you know that.
Well, I listen as a Red Sox fan, you were frustrated for a long time. For me, as a New York Rangers fan, I was frustrated for a long time too. I started watching the Rangers in the early 80s, and they were it was 1940 was the chant, 1940, because they hadn't won a Stanley Cup since 1940, and then in 1994 they finally broke that curse.
We also got the Knicks, buddy, too.
Oh, I got the Knicks. I didn't want to talk about the Knicks. The last time the Knicks won the championship was the year I was born, which was 1972. And they haven't won since. They've been close, made it to the finals a couple times, but
I know about close, Bill, like 4-game 7s, buddy.
Yeah, well, let me see. So I always say this because I've watched every one of my teams in my lifetime has won a championship except for the Knicks. So I've seen the Giants win 4 Super Bowls.
Right.
Seen the Rangers win a Stanley Cup, and I've seen the Yankees win. Let me see how many World Series. I think 7 World Series.
Well, how many of them do you actually remember, though?
Well, I remember the ones in the 70s because my dad was
I don't
fan, and he used to send me up and down the stairs every time the Yankees did something. Every time they'd get a hit or score a run, he'd point to me and tell me to run up and down the stairs like a crazy little guy. So
I don't even remember 78, Billy, unless I just blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't remember it.
I remember Reggie with the big year and big World Series. And
But I seen all of my teams win too. I see Notre Dame win national championship, and of course I'm a Boston sports fan, so I seen the Celtics win a ton.
Yeah.
I seen the Red Sox, of course, win 4 in the last, since 04. And then that's after I never seen them win 1. And then of course,
Right.
The Patriots and the Bruins. So I mean,
Yep.
you get a little spoiled here.
You
But
can never get enough though. Never enough championships.
No, you never get enough. So let's get into it, buddy.
All right, let's do Yankees Red Sox.
Best rivalry in sports. And I don't care what anybody says. I hear all this other stuff. They bring up all these other rivalries. There's nothing even close. When the Red Sox and the Yankees are going at it, buddy, it's the best thing in sports.
Yeah.
And it's the best all-time rivalry, but it has lost a lot of juice.
Over the years, over the last.
Lately, I'm talking lately, like the last 5-6 years. It just, and we'll get into the reasons why I think, it lost the juice. But I think, Bill, when you go to it, I think the heart of the rivalry, I think it was at its peak though in 2003 and 2004. When you had those just tremendous ALCS games. 14 games.
Yeah,
and it was just, I remember those like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is for such an amazing rivalry over the years. First time they met in postseason wasn't until 1999, and that was only because that was only because of the wild card. Because prior to what was it 90, 95,
5 or 6, yeah.
They wouldn't have been able to meet in the postseason because they were in the same division, and you could only have one team from a division. So if you won your division, you went to the league championship series.
And 78 was actually like they ended in a tie, right? They played the extra game, so
that was right. But I guess that wasn't considered a postseason game. That was just considered a tiebreaker game. But
well, here's the interesting thing, Bill. In the postseason, the Red Sox and Yankees right now they're tied 12-12.
Yeah, but series-wise, they're not. I think series-wise, the Red Sox are.
Yeah, but the regular season, though, all time, it's 12-42 to 10-37 in favor of the Yanks. And there's actually 14 ties, which they have to, they must have happened in like 1905, 1906, somewhere around there, buddy.
Well, when the two teams started playing, they weren't even called the Yankees and the Red Sox. They were what were they? The Americans?
The Americans, the Boston Americans, and then I think they were like the Red Stockings. And what were the Yankees?
I thought the Yankees. Hang on, so let me see. I got
you're talking, Bill. They've been playing for 120 years,
right? Yeah, actually, the Yankees were originally the Baltimore Orioles. Is that? I guess that's.
I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, they were. They were originally known as so there was the Boston Americans.
Jeez.
Then they changed their name to the Red Sox in 1908. And in 1901, the Yankees, then known as the Baltimore Orioles, played in Maryland for 2 seasons before moving north. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Oh. So, but yeah, they started playing in 1901, their first official game. And then in 1918, of course, that was the big.
That was the Curse of the Bambino.
Curse of the Bambino. That's when. So Harry, what was his name? Harry Frazee.
Yeah, he sold Babe Ruth.
Sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees for $500.
And Bill, before that, Bill,
this is the equivalent, though. Let's just put it in today's. Like this is the equivalent of like the Yankees essentially giving away Aaron Judge, right? I mean,
yeah, it was ridiculous
to their arch to the Yankees or to the Red Sox.
But Bill, at the time, though, the Red Sox were the premier team because from 01 to 1918, they won 5 World Series, including the first World Series. So they were like the premier team. And then, we know what happens. They go 86 years, and they lost 4 Game 7s and in the most brutal fashion. Buckner and all that other nonsense and Pesky and just everything that could have went wrong. in a game 7, which, it's hard to get to game 7 anyway, but to lose 4 of them like that, that's where the curse came in.
Yeah. And the absolute opposite for the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees would go on to win, countless World Series.
And say it, Billy, we know the numbers, 27-9. We know it.
Well, but a lot of those have happened the last 20, 30 years, but no, I mean, the Yankees won all those, they had all those great players, DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, just, countless Hall of Famers. And Red Sox had their share of Hall of Famers, Ted Williams, some great players too.
Jim Rice. That's some great teams, Bill, but they can never get over that hump until 2004. And of course, that was when they were down 3-0 to the Yankees, and that was the greatest comeback in sports. I mean, no other baseball team's done it. I figured you'd forget about that.
I don't remember.
I figured, I think your TV was out that week.
Well, I'll tell you this: the 2003 ALCS.
Yeah, I don't remember that last game, Bill. Something happened there in the extra innings. I don't remember.
Something happened in extra innings. Yeah. It was. I mean, listen.
Your manager finally did something right?
That was the only time. I mean, you had to. That game was just
incredible game.
Amazing.
Incredible game. And of course, it ended up with Red Sox firing Grady Little.
Right.
He kept Pedro in. And you never ask a player if he still could go, because a competitor is going to say, right. You can see he was out of gas and he didn't take him out.
And the Red Sox we're up. What was it? 5-2 going into the
5-2. It was like 4-0, and then it was 5-2, and then the Yankees tied it, and then we know what happened after that. Wakefield.
Yeah.
Wakefield, who was a great player for the Red Sox, and I'm glad. The one thing I'm glad is that he came back after that and was able to win championships. And that was in his, last play.
Yeah. But that was almost like the perfect storm. Like the Yankees couldn't touch Wakefield. They really had trouble with him.
They did. Yeah.
And
whatever fastball hitters, they're fastball hitting team and that Wakefield right. Coming in there with that knuckler. I mean,
it just threw them off their game. But the thing is, Aaron Boone was struggling. His timing was off. He couldn't hit. He was really struggling to hit the fastball. So the knuckleball was perfect. I mean, it just, he just came up and knocked that ball into left field over the fence, and the rest is history. But
and then there's so much hype, Bill, coming into 2004, and and this is when I really got into Mike and the Mad Dog. That's when right. I was at work and I was listening every day with the headphones on, and every day they'd be talking about the war between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And that's what it was. It was like, the ratings were unbelievable. They're like 50% higher than any other game when the Red right. Sox played the Yankees, and just the intensity of those games. And then, I know there's a lot of people out there that's going to say that they knew the Sox were going to come back, but come on, when it was 3-0, and then I remember that game, that 19-8 game. I mean, It was just, come on. I thought it was over. Everybody did.
Well, I thought it was over too. And honestly, though, the Red Sox still scared me. Not that I thought they were going to come back, from 3-0, but
right.
The games, there were a couple of games. What was it game 4 where they knocked Mariano out of the game?
Game 4, that was in Billy Miller got the hit. That was a Dave Roberts steal.
Right. And I could just sense when Mariano was on his game, nobody could touch him.
Right.
He was breaking bats, and he just had guys completely confused. And that wasn't happening at that point in game 4. Like guys were, they had time, they had their timing on his cutter, and they were getting hits. And I just thought, I know Torrey's never going to take him out, but boy, he just doesn't look right. He just doesn't look like he's on his game. And sure enough, they came back.
Of course, my man, Big Papi, was so huge in that series. That's when he became the legend.
He
was just, all of them were, but Papi was just a guy. I mean, he was just unbelievable.
And Manny,
and Manny did his damage.
Yep.
But and then you had the bloody sock with Schilling.
The bloody sock, and I still insist.
I know, Bill. You think it was ketchup? I know, buddy.
Done for dramatic effect.
Yeah. Well, and then, that I'll tell you, when I started to feel when the Sox won that second game, when they made it to 3-2, then I started to sense a little bit, hey, we might be able to do this. But then when we're going back to New York, I'm thinking, you know what? They're just setting me up. They're setting me up again.
Yeah.
And then going into game 7, I'll tell you, I was still nervous.
Well,
and even when the Red Sox took the big lead and they're up 10-3 in the ninth, and I'm still pacing, Bill.
I'll never forget that day, because Mike and the Mad Dog, when they were on that day, Mike just kept saying, the Yankees are going to win. There's no way. There's no way they're going to lose this game. There's no way. You don't lose 4 in a row. You don't. You just don't. You don't lose 4 in a row. They're going to win this game. I'm telling you, there's nothing to worry about. They're going to win this game. Well, Mike.
Yeah. And then, of course, Bill, the next day when they did their show, that was just incredible, because you could just see Mad Dog was coming out of his chair. I mean,
he's a Giants fan. He's a Giants fan.
But he just hates the Yankees. He doesn't like the Red Sox. I mean, probably Red Sox are probably the second most hated team, ironically.
Right.
He hates the Red Sox, but he hates the Yankees. And he was just so excited then, that's when I think the rivalry was at its height, at least in our lifetime. I mean, that was incredible. And I don't know if it'll ever get back to that.
Yeah. I mean, essentially that was the series that killed the Yankees dynasty, because they really haven't been the same since. They won one, they won in 2009. But they really haven't been able to get back there consistently. I mean, they haven't.
Let's face it, Bill, they've only won one in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox have won 4. And that's where I think it's taken a lot of the juice out of rivalry, because the hate is gone a little bit. It's always going to be there. Like Boston, New York cities are always going to have a rivalry. The Red Sox, Yankees are always going to have a rivalry. But from my perspective, the hate is a little bit diminished a little bit, because let's talk about when people say 27 championships, when they say that to me now, it's laughable to me. It doesn't do nothing, but
right.
Prior to 2004, that upset me.
Right.
That got on my nerves. But now, take a kid comes up to me, 25-year-old Yankee fan, and he's talking to me about 27 championships. I'm like, kid, shut up. You've seen one. You know what I mean? I don't talk to me about, 27 championships. And from a Boston sports fan, and there's the other side of that is, I think the Boston sports fan was, especially the younger fan, was really spoiled, because think about, since the early 2000s, they got 6 Patriot championships and 4 World Series with the Red Sox. The Celtics have won, the Bruins have won. I mean, you're seeing a parade almost every year. And then when they go in a little bit of a dry spell here, all of a sudden, the young Boston fan is upset. What is going on? I'm like, you guys don't remember Bill Buckner. You don't. I remember that play, because I remember me and my brother getting ready for school. We were sleeping, and my dad woke us up he said, "Come on, kids, let's watch the Red Sox win the World Series and guard us for life."
Well,
thanks, Dad.
And I'll be brutally honest, and a lot of Yankee fans aren't going to like this, but I was rooting for the Mets in that series.
Well,
mostly because my dad. I hate the Mets almost as much as I hate the Reds. I hate the Red Sox the most. I hate the Mets almost as much as the Red Sox. But I was rooting for the Mets because my dad used to root for all the New York teams. He would root for the Jets and the Giants. He would root for the Mets and the Yankees. Any New York team he would root for. And so he was rooting like crazy for the Mets. So of course I was as well. And I remember watching that. I can't remember where I was, because at that time I remember my grandfather was really sick, and so we actually were going up to Boston a lot, because that's where he lived, and we were going up there to see him quite a bit. And I know we saw one of the World Series games in Boston, but I can't remember which. I can't remember if it was 6 or 7, but that was insane. And one of the, I don't think that it couldn't have been on the weekend. Because you said your dad.
It was on, I think game 6 was a Friday, Bill, if I remember, or a Thursday. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think
Because
it was a Thursday. I like I said, but I'm scarred after that. I'm trying to forget it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, but that was brutal. And the thing that's lost is that was a really special Mets team. I mean, that was a really good. They had some, you know,
Yeah. And then they
little
went,
players on that team.
they went back to the NLCS a couple of years later too, right? Against the lost to the Dodgers.
Yeah. And of course, the Red Sox were loaded. I mean, you know, Jim Rice and Roger Clemens and Wade Boggs. I
Oh, it's an
mean,
amazing team.
Dwight Evans. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. Them guys like Rice and Dewey Evans and Fred Lynn, like those guys never got a chance to win a championship. They can never win a championship, but they get there a lot. But they just, you know, they can never pull it out.
Well, I mean, Boggs ended up getting his with the Yankees, and
Oh, did he? I don't remember that.
He won in '96.
I don't remember that. Are you sure about that? That horse? I don't remember that horse, really.
I'll tell you what. You know what, Sean?
Yeah.
You won't see another player like Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs was a guy who, if he were playing today, he'd be batting 500 because
he would be.
If they ever put the shift on with him, he was not a guy who was swinging for the fences.
No.
He just wanted to put.
He was a pure hitter. He was a pure hitter, and
great hitter.
That's one thing that's lost in the game today. You know, the shift. I mean, next year I guess they're getting rid of the shift.
Yep. Well, they're going to try.
They're going to try, but I mean,
ways. Yeah.
You know, I just think the players just not hitting into the shift. I mean, it's ridiculous. Sometimes, I mean, these players, you could just bunt down third baseline and you could get a double.
Yeah.
On somebody's, and they don't do it.
Right.
It's frustrating, but the game's changed. You know, I mean, the pitchers don't go, you know, more than 6 inning starters anymore.
Yeah. And I know we probably sound like a couple of old fogies, but you know, it's not as exciting to me because I really enjoy when a team, you know, like when a team manufactures a run, when you know, either you bunt to get on base or you take a walk and
sure, that's baseball.
You over, right. Steal a base. It's just, you just don't see that happen as much anymore. Hit and runs are, you know, they don't happen as much. And that was just my favorite kind of baseball. I just loved it. And now it's all about the launch angle. It's all about the exit velocity. It's all about, you know, there's no 2-strike approach anymore. If you get 2 strikes on you, you're still swinging for the fences. I don't know. People blame it on analytics, but I don't know what the
game's just changed, buddy. I mean, the game's just changed, and it's from the minor league level. I mean, the pitchers are trained now. You know, they only have to go 6 innings. You got that pitch count. You know, everybody's on 100 pitches is like the line that you can't go over.
Right.
You know, and it's just the game has just changed. But as far as the rivalry, though, I mean, I just think the juice is gone. It really is. I mean.
Well, the other thing is, Sean, all the players, you know, players don't hate each other like they did. And it wasn't even that long ago. I mean, we're talking.
Well, Bill, you know, the classic fight in 2004 with Jason Varitek and A-Rod.
Right.
Do you know those guys do not speak to each other to this day? They never spoken a word. Like when they see each other, they just walk by.
Yeah.
Like A-Rod mentioned that.
And then you had the situation with Pedro and Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer, yeah. And then, of course, Pedro and Posada hate each other, too. I believe those two haven't spoken. So there was a lot of hate, you know, the players between the players.
Right.
Where now you just don't have that, you know. And even towards the end there, you had, like, you know, a lot of respect with Big Papi and Mariano. They were buddies, and Jeter, and even Papi and A-Rod are buddies. I mean, it just...
Yeah.
You know, so it started to die towards the end, but in 2003, 2004, it was pretty heated there. The players, and you go back to the 70s, you know, and even the 60s, like a lot of those players, like Carlos Strzemski, like hated the Yankees.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just a lot of hate between the players, and you don't have that now.
Right. Well, because, you know, everybody's looking at potentially, you know, I may be with these guys next year.
Sure.
There's a free
agent.
Don't
stay with, the players don't stay with teams as long, but it's also the type of player, like on both teams, like who would the bad guy be? You know what I mean? Like you're from a Red Sox fan, you're going to hate Aaron Judge, you know, or you're a Yankee fan, you're going to hate like Xander Bogaerts. Like,
right.
You know, the players, there's just not that player that, you know, there's not that Pedro or, somebody, like A-Rod. There's no bad guy on
Yeah.
the other team,
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, it could change too. I mean, those things could, it's cyclical too. I mean, that could come back around at some point.
And I think other teams too, like, Houston right now, they got my anger.
Yeah.
A lot of my focus, and I can't stand Houston. And of course, Tampa Bay, the Rays, they're a pain in the neck.
Right.
I can't stand them either.
Yeah. I think Houston is sort of that universal. Everybody hates them now.
Yeah.
I would imagine everybody in the country, because as we record this, the Phillies and the Astros are playing in the World Series. And I can't imagine anybody outside of the city of Houston rooting for the Astros. I think everybody, not just the fact that the Astros are so hated because of all the scandals and everything, the sign stealing and all that stuff. How could you not root for this Phillies team?
Well, I'll tell you what, Billy, I know one guy, my buddy Hopkins. I know he's sitting home. He's going to be listening to this show. He's a diehard Yankee fan, but he hates all the Pennsylvania teams. And I know he's not rooting for the Phillies. I'll throw a shout out to my buddy Hop. I know he's sitting there rooting for, even though he hates Houston, because of the garbage cans and all that other nonsense.
Right.
He's still rooting for them though. He can't root for a Pennsylvania team.
I could not root for the Astros right now. I just couldn't. There's no way.
I can't either, Billy.
And the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly. Exactly. Go Phillies.
Yeah.
And of course, my uncle just passed away. He's a big Philly fan. So, I like to see them win for that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. They're a likable team, though. They got a lot of players on the team, they're kind of like dirt dogs,
They are. They remind me of those Red Sox teams,
They
the
do.
idiots,
Yeah.
the big beards and
like the Trot Nixon. Trot Nixon would fit in on this Philly team.
yeah. Veritek and, all those.
Yeah, Veritek, Bill Miller, guys like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, buddy, hopefully the rivalry get back, we'll get some juice back in the rivalry, but, I don't know, buddy.
Well, I think a lot of it, I'm interested to see what the Yankees do over the offseason. I know they've already said they're not making any changes with the manager, and I'm sure general manager is going to stay where he is.
Well, the Red Sox general manager thinks he's still in a small market down in Tampa there because, he's at $160 million payroll and he's acting, like he's still in Tampa. So I can't figure him out, He makes seller moves and he makes buyer moves. I mean, I don't know what he was doing at the deadline.
Yeah, you have no idea what these guys are doing anymore. I don't know what the Yankees are doing. The Yankees, they stick to these analytics like like grim death, and that's what ends up happening is they die in the playoffs because they can't hit. They build their team to hit a home run, and they're facing the best pitching in the playoffs, and they can't. You live by the home run, you die by the home run.
Yeah.
So
Well, the frustrating thing for me, Bill, as a Red Sox fan, though, is this, they win this theme that they've had going here now. Like they win the World Series in 2013. And, it's such a great, that was the year of the Boston bombing and everything. And you win that, and Poppy's great speech. And then they come back with basically the same team in 2014, and they're in last place.
Yeah.
Then they come back, 2018, they win the World Series. And then they come back in 19 with basically the same team, and they're in last place. Then last year they made it to the ALCS, and of course, they lost to the garbage cans, but they still were in first place. They beat the Yankees in the playoffs, and then they come back this year and they're in last place. Like it's just this first to last is just driving me crazy.
Well, and I think injuries play a big part too.
It does. Sales really hurt them a lot. Sale, he hasn't been healthy. I mean, he can't catch a break. So, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we'll see what happens, buddy. We got to get that rivalry back because you got to get some juice into it. Because when New York, even like sports, Bill, New York, Boston, when you had the Giants and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I mean, that had juice.
Oh, for sure.
And like the Knicks and the Celtics, the Bruins and Rangers. I mean, anytime you get Boston and New York, you're going to have juice. You're going to have a rivalry.
Yeah. And of course it depends. A lot of it is division within the division. So, I mean, for me, as far as the Rangers go, the top rival for me with the Rangers is the Flyers. I hate the Flyers. I hate the Islanders, and I hate the Devils. I mean, the Bruins, I have no love for them, but they're in a different division. We don't see them that often, and so it's not as heated a rivalry as the Yankees Red Sox. And
well,
then,
I'll tell you another team, Bill. I'll tell you another team in baseball that's kind of taken my hate from the Yankees a little bit away and towards them is the Dodgers.
yeah.
I hate the Dodgers.
Yeah, and you know, funny too, because the Yankees and the Dodgers met so often in the series, you would think that, you know, that rivalry would be more heated, but you know, of course, they play each other, but not that, you know, they don't play each other every year. Like Yankees Red Sox play each other 19 times
19 times, yeah.
So,
well, hopefully we get it back, buddy. Get that rivalry back.
Hopefully we will. I'm sure these things, you know, they lay low for a little bit and then they come back. But this was fun. It was a good.
Maybe they'll have an old timers game and they'll Pedro out there throwing at somebody and that'll get it going again, you know?
There you go.
All right, buddy. This was a good one. It's good to get a little bit of sports, you know. We've been doing so much history. Let's get into sports. So this was good.
Talking some sports. And then you know, if listeners have any suggestions for sports rivalries you want us to talk about, let us know. Give us a shout. Email us at that's enough out of you show@gmail.com, or look us up. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all these social media platforms. YouTube too. Make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. There's a little red button that says subscribe. So if you happen to be watching our podcast or listening to it on YouTube, just give that a click. So it doesn't cost you anything.
Or even if you're on Apple, go over to YouTube and just click that subscribe button. You know, it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Helps us grow the podcast.
And you know, give us a review. And, you know, even if you're a Jets fan, give us a review.
Jets fan. Giants fan, Yankees, Red Sox, whatever.
I'm sure we aggravated some fans tonight, Bill. I'm sure there's Yankee fans that are out there hating my guts, but hey, you know, I think I was calmed down. If we did this podcast back in 2003, buddy, I think we'd be probably banned from the air.
Well, I'll tell you what, I remember the emails I used to get back then from you.
Yeah.
Barrage with emails.
Those were the days, buddy.
Those were. All right, man. Well,
all right, pal.
Be good. Enjoy your sports, everybody. And that's enough out of you.
Good night, everybody.